Tonight, booted from caucus.
I made the personal decision not to inoculate.
Progressive Conservative MPP Rick Nichols has been expelled from caucus after the deadline came and went for all members to get inoculated. Plus,
the City of Toronto has a duty as an employer to do everything that it can to ensure that our work environment is safe.
Mayor John Tory announcing all city employees must be fully vaccinated for COVID-19. TTC also following suit. We'll have all the details and reaction. And
don't doubt anyone with different abilities. Just give them the opportunity.
A young man has a big ride planned for this weekend to raise money to go towards speech therapy for himself and 2 children with Down syndrome. We'll tell you all about Cycle Jordan. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Well, the Ontario PC caucus has shrunk by 1 tonight. The party set a 5 p.m. deadline for members to be vaccinated against COVID-19, and MPP Rick Nichols' refusal to get the shot has led to him being booted. Nichols, who represents the riding of Chatham-Kent-Leamington, questioned the safety of the vaccine, despite scientists repeatedly saying the vaccine is safe and effective. Nichols said it's his personal choice not to get the shot and slammed the Ford government for mandating it.
I have voiced my concerns about our policy privately to the Premier and to the Ontario PC caucus. But under no circumstances will I, nor should any Ontarian, be forced or coerced to do something against their will.
Now, one other Conservative MPP remains unvaccinated. That's Scarborough Centre's Christina Mitas. A statement from the Premier's office says she was able to provide a doctor's exemption and will remain in the caucus. Nichols, meanwhile, will now presumably sit as an independent. He had been a Conservative MPP since 2011 and served as the Deputy Speaker. The provincial government also announcing today all 64,000 Ontario public service employees will have to be vaccinated or undergo testing for COVID-19. In a memo sent out to all employees, the government stated anyone not getting the vaccine will have to provide a medical reason or they'll have to complete educational sessions and undergo frequent tests. The province hasn't released a timeline of when this new policy will go into effect. Well, now to the City of Toronto, which also announced a new vaccine policy today. The city and the TTC said they'll be requiring all of their employees to get the shot due to concerns over the highly contagious Delta variant. Our Jessica Ng reports.
Knowing that, everyone that I'm working with is fully vaccinated makes me feel safer and more comfortable with being around my family members.
Grace Tessa is the city's acting manager for engineering and construction services. She's been working from home during the pandemic, but feels safer going back to the office later in September now that the city has mandated COVID-19 vaccinations for employees.
It makes me happy. It makes me feel safer. It makes potentially having those awkward conversations about who's vaccinated and who isn't vaccinated go away.
Between the day after Labor Day and September the 13th, all city staff will be required to provide proof of vaccination.
Mayor John Tory says it's for the safety of employees and the public. If you work for the city and aren't vaccinated or don't disclose your vaccination status in that time frame, you'll need to attend education sessions and provide proof of dose 1 by the end of September. Then,
effective October 30th, it will be mandatory for all City of Toronto employees to have received both doses of a COVID-19 vaccine.
The city's chief people officer, Omo Akinton, says they're still hammering out details on the repercussions of non-compliance with the workers' unions.
We are not taking any options off the table, but our focus has been and will continue to be getting full compliance, working collaboratively with our union partners.
Meanwhile, the TTC is instituting a similar policy, which requires employees to have both doses by September 13th, or specifically a medical reason for not getting it. They say policy details will be finalized by September. ATU Local 113 represents 12,000 TTC employees and say they oppose the new policy. In a statement, Union President Carlos Santos says Local 113 supports the right of every member to make their own informed decisions about their personal health matters. They also cite concerns that the policy could violate human rights code. which is complicated, according to Jeff Poirier, the Ontario Human Rights Commission's acting director of policy.
Requirements should not discriminate against people or have an adverse effect on people, but at the same time, it sets out a balancing provision. It says and recognizes that, well, okay, requirements can be legitimate for health and safety reasons, and certainly people have the right not to get a vaccine, but there can be consequences.
Tory was also asked today about mandatory vaccinations for police officers in the city, and he said it's up to the TPS, the Toronto Police Service, to decide. In a statement to CBC News, TPS says they continue to encourage safe practices for everyone, including their members, and that the service is currently reviewing and will soon announce their approach to vaccinations. The Toronto Police Service has over 7,500 employees in the city. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
And Sick Kids has joined the list of employers that want their staff to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. CEO Dr. Ronald Cohn says it wasn't an easy decision, but is the right thing to do.
We are in a unique situation because at any given time, about 70% of our patients are below the age of 12 and thus not eligible for vaccinations. Many of those patients are immunocompromised. Everybody who is working at Sick Kids, within the walls of Sick Kids, has to be vaccinated by October 15th.
Starting September 7th, staff at Sick Kids will have to show proof of vaccination. The hospital will begin with education and testing for the staff that don't get the shot, but says it will consider all options to enforce the policy, including issuing unpaid leave of absence for those who are unvaccinated. Provincial health coalitions across the country are calling for action from federal parties to make firm plans in supporting long-term care homes as part of their election platforms.
This should be a key election issue. We have never had a situation in which we've had so many people in healthcare, in care, under the responsibility of our governments and of the facilities, die preventably.
The executive director of the Ontario Health Coalition is calling for legislated national long-term care standards. She says more federal funding is needed to mandate staffing levels and ensure oversight. More than 14,000 residents have died in long-term care homes across Canada during the first two waves of the pandemic. And healthcare and housing were two of the main themes today in the election campaign.
This pandemic laid bare unacceptable and heartbreaking conditions in too many long-term care homes across the country.
Liberal leader Justin Trudeau committed $9 billion to help the provinces and territories address shortfalls in the long-term care sector. Trudeau wants to increase wages and improve working conditions for personal support workers, create more long-term care spaces, and upgrade facilities. He also pledged improvements for seniors who choose to remain in their homes. Meanwhile, in Edmonton,
we believe passionately in making sure healthcare is there for you and your families. We are the party of healthcare. We have long fought for it, and we will continue to fight for it.
the leader of the NDP spoke about his party's healthcare credentials. Jagmeet Singh attacked the Liberals and Conservatives over cuts to funding. He endorsed more money for frontline workers and wants to include long-term care and medications in the public healthcare system. And in Ottawa,
I'm showing the federal government will be a serious partner, not just in giving first-time homebuyers longer mortgage terms, not just by encouraging more rental housing, dedicated, specific, purpose-built rental housing, but also making sure we release some of the holdings of the federal government.
Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole unveiled his party's policies on housing. He says the goal will be to get more homes built and make it easier for people to buy them. O'Toole pledged to make more land available for housing by offering up to 15% of federal properties for development. Environment Canada has issued a heat warning for the city of Toronto. The heat warning is expected to last until at least Saturday. Warnings are issued when Environment Canada forecasts 2 or more straight days of 31-degree weather or higher during the daytime and temperatures only dropping to 20 degrees during the night. Emergency cooling centers in the city will open tomorrow at 11 a.m. All right, let's go to Colette now. Colette Kennedy now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, as you've been telling us, temperatures are rising and then sticking around.
Thanks, Kelda. Well, we did it. I mean, we got to 30, not only just that, 31 degrees. In fact, with the daytime high, lots of numbers around the GTA, right around 30, 30 for Oshawa, up towards Peterborough too, upper 20s for Ottawa and upper 20s as well back into southwestern Ontario, but we don't kind of stop there, right? We then factor in the humidity and the humidex values, mid-30s, be climbing up into upper 30s as we go into the day on Friday. So, hey, at least we have the drier conditions we'll see through the overnight hours, so quieter conditions, some moisture content in the air, so as things cool down, we may see it condensing and getting a little bit of patchy fog here and there. But really for tomorrow, it's dry for the Golden Horseshoe back towards southwestern Ontario. A few little isolated showers trying to bubble up there more towards eastern Ontario. And in those regions where we have the heat warning, but just keep in mind, we're pretty close to that criteria too. Sometimes you got to get both of the factors, not just the daytime high, but the overnight low up to 20 degrees. We have it for Toronto, and that's the low for tonight. And then for tomorrow afternoon, 31 again. And that humidex value, Kelda, up to 38. When I come back, I'll tell you how long we're in this for.
All right. Thanks, Colette. Now to an update on a story from last night. Cycling advocates are calling for the city to take action to increase road safety after an 18-year-old man was killed. A cement truck collided with the man as he was cycling. It happened just north of Bloor Street on Avenue Road. As Dale Manukduk tells us, these accidents have become more frequent in recent years and is causing alarm.
We've been asking the city to put bike lanes on this stretch of Avenue Road up until Davenport, but that was never accepted by the city.
On the south side of the intersection is a wide protected bike lane.
I'm very nervous. I prefer going bike lanes all the time.
I'm very uncomfortable if there's no protection for cyclists, and I think vehicles have to be more aware of the cyclists even in protected lanes.
We are only safe if we have segregated and protected bike lanes. I was hit in a painted bike lane and broke my wrist and my elbow. That doesn't work.
David Shellnut, founder of the Biking Lawyer, points out the 1 meter distance rule on roads without safety measures. Toronto police say the 50-year-old driver of the dump truck did not give the 18-year-old cyclist enough room.
That is a finable offense. I don't know how many of those tickets get handed out. I have felt the heat of an engine as cars pass me by, so not everybody does it.
The site of last night's fatal collision is just a few hundred meters from where Dahlia Chaco was killed in 2018. She was also hit by a truck. A white ghost bike was placed at the site by Advocacy for Respect for Cyclists. The organization will place a similar memorial for the 18-year-old victim.
This one will be a big one. It's right downtown. It's at an intersection that many of us bike past every single day, and we anticipate it's going to be a large crowd.
The organization says their calls for a bike lane on Avenue Road went unanswered by the city. Mayor John Tory says Toronto's been working hard to make the roads safer for pedestrians and cyclists, but large vehicles pose an extra risk. Police say that the driver of the truck in yesterday's incident had to be told by witnesses that he had struck a young man.
They do pose a special challenge, and a special challenge in terms of keeping everybody safe, and we've got to keep looking at all of these things.
Now, Toronto is actively trying to reduce the number of major injuries and fatalities on the road as part of their Vision Zero program. In 2019, according to police data, there were 46 collisions involving cyclists and just 32 in 2020, but that was the first year of the pandemic when there were less cars on the road. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Officers are looking for a suspect following an alleged hate-motivated incident. They say a man spray-painted anti-Semitic graffiti on a synagogue.
There was a defacing graffiti and also a swastika that was placed onto the building. This hate that we see will not in any way, shape, or form prevent us from doing the good that we bring to the world.
It happened on Wednesday morning at the Beth Shalom Synagogue near Eglinton and Allen Road. Now, these are security images released by police. They describe the suspect as 5'8" with a skinny build. He was seen wearing blue jeans, a dark t-shirt, baseball cap, black shoes, and a backpack. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward. The Ontario PC Party has responded to those party fundraising letters that looked like invoices. In a statement today, the party says it wasn't their intention to mislead supporters. The statement reads, "We regret that this correspondence was sent to a limited group of supporters by one of our vendors and will not happen again. We apologize for any confusion or frustration this may have caused." The statement comes 2 days after media, including CBC, reached out to the PC Party for a response. The OPP have said they're looking into whether this may warrant a police investigation. NDP leader Andrea Horwath says her party is looking into whether any federal election laws were broken. Well, the second annual Cycle Jordan is taking place this weekend. Over 100 cyclists are expected to join Jordan Isaac for a ride through the CNE grounds. The young man's mission: to raise funds to go towards speech therapy sessions for himself and 2 others with Down syndrome. Our Dahlia Ashry has his story.
Green, red, blue, black, red. Yeah.
It seems vibrant and colorful just as much as your personality. It just shines. So 20-year-old Jordan Isaac, equipped with his self-designed helmet and bike, is gearing up for Saturday's big ride at the CNE.
We are raising money for Jordan, Jaliatu, and Saidu, who are 3 children and youth who have Down syndrome, and we're raising money to provide them with funds for speech therapy.
He'll be joined by his mother, his sisters, and dozens of other cyclists. This year's ride is in partnership with Mandem Cycling Club, an inclusive and diverse cycling club in Toronto.
Jordan's like my little homie now, so to speak, you know, like we've gotten pretty close in a short period of time. From a community standpoint, to do something beyond like our events and our rides that I do with the club, it's good to just show that we have much more reach than that, and there's a great opportunity to do community work and have a positive impact, especially with young people.
Besides his love of cycling, Jordan also enjoys painting and dancing, and he has a special performance planned for Saturday.
I like band dance.
Jordan was diagnosed with Down syndrome at 6 months, and he requires speech therapy. His family said it was difficult to afford consistent sessions for him when he was younger. He's been going for speech therapy for about a year now. His family says they've definitely seen progress.
To really work on the fundamental skills that he needs to communicate in different ways, to communicate orally, he communicates through his drawings, he communicates with his dancing, but to work on his speech is just fantastic.
He's more confident, he's talking a lot more, and he's more aware. He's gained a lot more awareness.
So far, Cycle Jordan has raised more than $12,000, close to their $15,000 goal. Money his family believes will make a big difference in Jordan's and the other 2 children's lives.
It's amazing the impact that he's making just like in people's lives, and just such positive energy that he's really impacting and changing people's lives.
He influenced people in different ways. He's touched so many lives, and you know, don't doubt anyone with different abilities. Just give them the opportunity to excel in whatever it is that they do.
If you're planning on joining the ride on Saturday and you've purchased a ticket, your name could be placed into a draw at a chance to win one of Jordan's helmet creations, and all the proceeds will be going towards the fundraiser. Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
Mostly clear tonight and remaining clear overnight. Currently, it's 26 degrees downtown. All right, let's go back to Colette now for a look at your extended forecast. And Colette, we know Toronto is under a heat warning. Not the case for all regions, but still best to be mindful and take it easy out there.
Thanks, Kelda. And, you know, I was mentioning earlier in the show with the heat that we're seeing about whether we're meeting criteria or not. I just want folks to realize when it comes to this, even if we're not into a heat warning, as we see parts of the province go into it and other parts not, keeping in mind criteria is different in different parts of the country, but that sometimes you can still be close. So you still got to kind of be mindful of the same things when we have temperatures that are warm, but so much humidity as well. So just when it comes to heat exhaustion, or little reminders, we don't want to see anyone getting sick, but if you start to feel dizzy, that rapid heartbeat as well, where your heart's racing, headache, feeling faint, those are all signs potential for heat exhaustion. All right, here we go with the precipitation outlook, and there is not a lot to be seeing here. Clear skies tonight. You don't necessarily see it on the models here, but a little patchy fog. That potential is there in through all the way back towards southwestern Ontario into Cottage Country and near the lakeshore. But it's into eastern Ontario where tomorrow afternoon a few isolated showers may bubble up here. And they're very, very brief, really heavy downpour, but then they tend to pass really quickly. So most of us, it is going to be a day, and it's going to be a dry day, sunny day, and it is going to be a very sticky day as well. Taking you into Saturday, we see a little bit more widespread kind of convective stuff in the afternoon, but again, pretty widespread and isolated here, so your chances are you'll still be on the dry side of things, but not feeling dry because of the perspiration that'll be on your skin. Tonight for southwestern Ontario, 19 degrees for your low. Sarnia 29 tomorrow, otherwise 30 and 31. Just that kind of northerly breeze before it shifts off towards the southeast. A look overnight tonight at some of the temperatures around the GTA. Some of those upper teens where they don't quite meet the criteria for heat warnings, but we're getting into that tomorrow afternoon. 31, 29 though for St. Catharines and for Hamilton, and feeling closer to those upper 30s. Look at this long range though. We're taking it down a tiny bit on Monday. The humidity doesn't go down. In fact, Kelda, this lasts likely towards the end of next week before it breaks.
Toronto's Community Housing Corporation is teaming up with the Humane Society of Canada with a pop-up event offering free pet food to the city's companion animals.
Numbers are hitting us high, so this is a lot of help. I still go to the food banks as well as these banks, but I'm so glad because I can't walk all the way down there with my knees and stuff. I'm 58 years old. I'm trying to take care of my babies.
The food bank also gives supplies to support pet owners in underserved communities. The Humane Society says the pandemic has impacted residents providing for animals, with basic pet groceries becoming harder to afford. The event also gives visitors ways to use emergency pet sheltering services if they ever see stray animals wandering across the city. Finally tonight, Toronto is honoring Canada's Paralympic athletes as the Games in Tokyo get set to begin. The CN Tower lighting up in purple tonight. Purple is the international color for people with disabilities. The Paralympics officially kick off on Tuesday. Canada is sending 128 athletes to the Games. And a famous monument in Tokyo also lighting up the sky. This is the Sky Tree. The 634-meter structure is the tallest building in Japan, and it's the second largest man-made structure in the world. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Chris Glover has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.